Welcome to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. On today's show, we're going to talk about Puerto Vallarta quite extensively, Europe Christmas markets, and travel scams to avoid. Let's start the show.
The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, contains travel deals, promotions, and offers that may be time sensitive. All offers and information were accurate when the show aired. Travel deals and offers change constantly and are capacity controlled and subject to change without notice.
Explore your world. It's the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. Call or text the show now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700, and check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. And now, here are your hosts, Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
Welcome to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. My name is Mark Faldmo. You'll notice a little difference this week. We'll excuse Patrick from the show today. Thank you for taking your time to listen to the show today. The entire purpose of this show is to help you plan and book your next vacation and help you get out there and explore your world. And we're presented by Blue Planet Vacations. In this first segment, we'll talk about some travel news, and then we'll get into an interview that I had a few weeks ago with David Charez, who is the sales rep for Buenaventura Hotels in Puerto Vallarta. We'll get to that interview in just a moment, but first, let's talk about some of the travel news of the week. The first bit of news that we'll talk about is Alaska Airlines expanding Asia flights. Patrick and I have talked about the merger with Alaska Airlines and Hawaiian Airlines a couple of times on the show, and now there's some exciting news coming out of this as they are starting to combine their networks. Alaska Airlines will take some of the larger planes from Alaska Airlines and move them to Seattle and start flying to Asia, and the inaugural flight will be on May 12th to Tokyo's Narita Airport. This is really good news for travelers to Asia, as it will open up the whole Alaska Airlines network to the destinations that they fly, and they will soon start flying to Seoul's Incheon Airport in Seoul, South Korea. Our next bit of news is Southwest Airlines is changing the way they do drink service. So earlier this month, if you've flown on Southwest, you'll notice that they're starting to prepare the cabin for landing earlier. They used to prepare the cabin at 10,000 feet. Now they're going to start preparing the cabin for landing at 18,000 feet, which means beverage service could end earlier. You'll need to get your laptop stowed earlier and your tray tables up. This could mean that on some of the shorter flights, there may not be time for drink service. Now, as I mentioned a few weeks ago, I was in Puerto Vallarta and I was able to get an interview with David Charez, the sales manager for Buenaventura Hotels, one of my favorite resort chains in Puerto Vallarta. Here's the interview. David, it's nice to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me, Mark. Thank you for joining us here. It's always nice to enjoy the beautiful, perfect weather that we have, and it is perfect indeed.
It is. It has been perfect. I've noticed it's not been too hot, not been too humid. There's been a nice breeze. Couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, we do our best. We do our best when we have special guests in house, so it's nice to provide this for you. So
thanks for ordering up the weather for me. So first off, I want to start off and ask you, why Puerto Vallarta?
So I've had the privilege of working at three wonderful destinations in Mexico: Cancun, Los Cabos, and Puerto Vallarta. And all three are beautiful destinations indeed, and they'll have their unique attributes. But I have to be very honest with you. When I arrived to Puerto Vallarta, working for this company, Buenaventura Hotels, I celebrate my 18th year in September. So when I arrived to Puerto Vallarta, it is a destination that just absolutely captivated me, enamored me. It's one of those destinations that's just so complete. You know, we were a city before we were a tourist destination. So, you know, you have multiple generations of people born and raised here, and it does make a big difference. So the people are absolutely amazing here, and I'm sure you can attest to that as well. The other thing, of course, is why would you go to a beach destination? Well, for the beaches, of course. And, you know, we do have a ton of pristine beaches, all safe, swimmable beaches, which is really really important. And then, of course, you have the Sierra Madre mountain range, which is the backdrop to this beautiful colonial seaside town. So in essence, I always like to say, we really do offer a complete vacation experience in Puerto Vallarta, as you have everything that involves the ocean, everything that involves the mountain terrain, including zip line, some beautiful rivers and other, adventure activities such as that. And then, of course, the colonial part. It's a place where you can really immerse yourself within the culture of Mexico. And this is a perfect example of everything that Mexico has to offer.
Puerto Vallarta probably is my favorite spot in Mexico for those reasons. I love the colonial aspect of it. I love the beaches. We're sitting out here at the Sky Bar at the Buenaventura Grand Hotel watching people play in the beach. It's wonderful.
It's hard to be up here, isn't it?
It is. It's hard to be here watching everybody have fun.
Exactly. But sometimes we have to work.
Yeah, sometimes we do have to work. So what better place to work than this, though?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now let's switch to the hotels. The Villa Premier Boutique Hotel, which is where we've been staying. Can you explain that hotel a little bit to us?
So this is, when I started working for the company, this was actually like my pet project. It was the main focus of my job as it opened in 1999. We celebrate 25 years this year. So it's a fairly newer hotel in the destination, because this is a destination that does have some hotels over 50 years old and stuff. So it is one of the newer ones. It's a boutique hotel. There's only 83 rooms and suites here. So it's a very intimate hotel. It is adults only, which, sometimes is great to escape everything, including the kids. So this does afford you that opportunity. And it's a hotel. It's the only one in our company that offers both European plan and all inclusive. So we're in European plan hotels, and for those that don't know, EP means no meals or anything is included. Basically, it's just room. However, we also offer an inclusive option at this hotel, and most people do like that because it means you have everything included. 3 a la carte restaurants to choose from. There's no buffet dining there. We have, phenomenal mixology cocktails, and that's all included, and also 24-hour room service. We have a phenomenal menu that does include some very tasty and delicious hot items in the overnight menu. We do have a chef on site 24 hours a day. So, there's really not much that this hotel won't do to, completely satisfy the needs of all of its guests.
For being that small of a hotel, 83 rooms, I think it's the perfect size.
It really is. And no matter how, you're here, and with your, staying here, we're actually at 96% occupancy. So we're pretty much full. And yet you don't feel that, do you, when you're there?
You don't feel it. I think, again, to have a chef on site 24 hours for that room service is quite amazing for that size. The food at the hotel, I can say, of all the destinations I've traveled to, all the all-inclusives, I think the Villa Premier has the best food.
Thank you. We really do. The company does so much when it comes to the gastronomy at all 3 of our resorts. We have been known over the years company-wide with gastronomy. And, for Villa Premier, since it's our flagship hotel, it's our signature hotel. It's a hotel where, because of the gastronomy, we are featured in, Gastronomy Festival, Gourmet Festival, a couple of other independent activities that they do. One is Vallarta Nayarit Gastronomica, which is an event that encompasses, the best chefs in Puerto Vallarta and our sister city, Riviera Nayarit, which is, next door as well. So we do a heavy investment in that. And I'm glad it's great to hear your comments, because, it's why we do it. And the food there is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah. And, like a lot of hotels in Puerto Vallarta, you have great views of the beach and sunsets. But I think, at least this trip, the 2 nights we've been here, the 2 sunsets have been amazing. And it's probably because of where we're staying.
Yes. The Villa Premier, every single room is oceanfront. And it's a small boutique hotel. Yet if you look at the size of it, you think it's a lot bigger than what it actually is, because there's plenty of suites. And, the big thing right now, of course, is availability to those suites. They're just so perfect. And you're experiencing one of my personal favorites, the Premier Suite, which is our 783 square feet of just amazing space and a beautiful balcony. But all of the rooms have a balcony, and all of the rooms face the ocean. One thing that I do like, and you'll appreciate this too, a lot of hotels don't have screen doors on their balconies. We do, and you could sleep with that door open and just hear the waves all night long, and it really is soothing and relaxing.
Yep, and that's one thing I like about that, because I do like to listen to the ocean at night. Again, perfect setting, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the Buenaventura, since the hotels are next door. But what about the location of this?
So we are technically the first hotel in the downtown zone. If you're headed from the airport towards downtown Puerto Vallarta, we're only about a 20 minute drive from the Puerto Vallarta International Airport, and we are literally at the doorstep to the cobblestone streets. Where you exit Villa Premier onto the main street, that's where the cobblestone streets start. You make a quick right, and 4 blocks into that, you're at the base of the Malecon, the entrance to it, and that's where all the nightlife, the shopping, galleries, just a lot of phenomenal people watching, and you're literally in the culture. You're in the culture. You're immersing yourself in the culture. So location is what everyone deems to be the most important thing, and this being a beachfront hotel in the closest area to the downtown area, to the downtown zone, I think makes this a phenomenal choice for any guest wanting to be in Puerto Vallarta.
Yeah, it is. I like being that close to the downtown area. And David, why don't you tell me a little bit about the spa at the Villa Premier? Relaxation is an important part of a trip, and a spa is a critical component for that.
Thank you, Mark. Well, you had the privilege of seeing it. I'm glad I got the opportunity to show it to you. It's the newest thing at the Villa Premier. We just completely redid the spa. I mean, when I saw this, the spa, we renamed it too. It's called Serena, and it's so zen-like. It's so relaxing. It's so pure. Honestly, I mean, when we're walking through it, the aromas in there is just. Absolutely. Just being in there, I felt so relaxed, and you just feel so relaxed there. We have 4 treatment rooms. We specialize. We have full beauty salon, and we use organic based products. The sauna, steam room. It's a small spa in standards to some very large hotels, but it is so perfectly, it's just so perfect, so zen-like, so relaxing that honestly you cannot miss an opportunity to come and check out the spa.
Yeah, and I was going to say, a spa facility like that at a hotel that size, you've done a great job.
Thank you.
It's a large spa for the number of rooms that you have, so it's quite an amazing spa.
Well, thank you. I really, really appreciate that. And yes, absolutely, on your visit to Villa Premier, you definitely check out the spa. It's amazing, and the treatments and everything that we offer there, workshops, everything, it's just absolutely amazing. So thank you.
Well, that wraps up our segment here. We'll be back with David in just a minute to talk about the other hotel, the Buenaventura Grand. We'll be right back after this.
Taking you to destinations around the world. The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show is presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show now. 801-649-3700. 801-649-3700. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back.
This segment of Inside Travel Talk is sponsored by Star Clippers. For over 30 years, Star Clippers has offered unique, authentic tall ship sailing experiences featuring creative itineraries throughout the Mediterranean, Caribbean, and Central America. To book your unique Star Clipper sailing adventure, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.
Now, back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show right now. 801-649-3700. 801-649-3700. And check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. Here's Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
Welcome back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. We're glad you're with us today. This is segment 2, where we highlight the hot travel deal of the week. This week, we're going to Cancun. There's some great deals on 5-star hotels. We'll also finish out the interview with David Charez from Buenaventura Hotels. But first, let's talk about some of the exciting travel news that's out there. And we're first going to go to Orlando, Florida area, going to the Kennedy Space Center. Kennedy Space Center is one of my favorite places to visit when I'm in Orlando, either before or after a cruise or when visiting other Orlando theme parks. Kennedy Space Center is a place I think that everyone should visit. They've announced a new interactive visitor experience, so if you're into space and rockets, this is a new experience just for you. They've reimagined the historic Launch Complex 39. This is slated to open in 2025. They've added some interesting exhibits here. They have the Earth Information Center, which is a data hub featuring a theater show, a hyperwall display, an interactive exhibit gallery, an interactive rocket building area where guests can design and virtually launch rockets, experiencing spaceflight from a launch site within the Kennedy Space Center's working spaceport. It will also be used as a launch viewing area for real rockets when rockets are launched from Kennedy Space Center. And then it also has several interactive exhibits, including a test fire simulation where guests can stand under a full-scale rocket engine as it simulates a static fire test, along with a shaded area and outdoor dining. Kennedy Space Center is, kind of one of those vacation spots where you can add science into your vacation. I've always been intrigued when visiting Kennedy Space Center, especially walking around the rocket garden to see some of the real astronauts that are there. And, so this is just another example of some of the immersive things that Kennedy Space Center does. And our next story is one that we've covered a little bit. It's Lomas Hospitality's more inclusive experience in Cancun, Mexico. The hotels of Lomas include the El Dorado Resorts, which is El Dorado Seaside Palms, El Dorado Seaside Suites, El Dorado Royale, El Dorado Maroma Beach, and El Dorado Casita Suites, which are all adult-only hotels. And then their family hotel is the Generations Riviera Maya. This more inclusive, as we've talked about before, includes Maroma Beach, which is a beach club experience. You can have brunch at a restaurant that includes 20 food stations and all of your drinks. You can sail over the Great Mayan Reef with snorkeling. Again, one of the best reefs in the world to snorkel. Or enjoy activities like jet skiing, catamaran rides, and of course, the snorkeling that we talked about, or you can just relax on the beach. It also includes, if you're staying at any of their properties, you can eat and drink and experience the Oceanic Resort, which is the largest water park in the Riviera Maya. Includes an ecotourism ranch with a cenote and swimming experience, where you can interact with horses and rescued animals from the area. And this is the exciting part. They've recently added Aktun Chen, which is a cenote and an underground cave expedition. So that's a really exciting addition. This is an attraction that, again, normally costs quite a bit to do, and this is included with your stay at any of the Lomas Hospitality resorts, the El Dorado properties, or the Generations. And now let's get back to the interview with David Charez from Buenaventura Resorts and hear what he has to say about the Buenaventura Grand Hotel.
Let's get back to David, since we're here in sunny, beautiful Puerto Vallarta. The day just keeps getting better since we last talked.
It does. It really does.
Nice breeze, and just a great place to be right now. Buenaventura Hotels. We talked about the Villa Premier in the last segment. Right next door is the Buenaventura Grand Hotel. Tell us a little bit about that hotel.
Well, for starters, any guest of the Villa Premier is welcome at the Buenaventura Grand next door. The Buenaventura Grand is one of the original hotels in the destination. We have been for 42 years. It's an amazing place, same great location. Here, it's we are a family-friendly hotel. I say family-friendly as a distinction to a family hotel because we're a great hotel that does welcome all families, of course. But it's a great property for singles. It's a great property for couples. We have a nice inventory of 231 rooms. So, we do have plenty of great options for that as well. This hotel, underwent a complete transformation in honor of our 40th anniversary. We completely reimagined the hotel, redid absolutely everything. So gutting, every last piece of tile, every toilet, everything completely, all the rooms were completely gutted. You did have the opportunity to tour this with me yesterday. So you did see that. And, once that transformation was complete, honestly, I think this is one of the most complete hotels in the destination. A very nice compliment, to the Villa Premier as well, but also to the commitment of Buenaventura Hotels, which, we're a company that, just specializes in hospitality. So, the family that owns the company is a family that really does not only invest in the product that they have, but, also within the community. And we have a lot of employees, like including myself. I said I celebrated 18 years. Believe it or not, I'm actually probably one of the persons who's been here probably the least amount of time. At our 40th anniversary party, we actually had many employees that had started with the hotel the day that it opened, and they brought back a lot of the ones that have now retired to come celebrate in that monumental occasion. So, but the hotel is an amazing location right in the downtown area. With our new completely reimagined product, the food and beverage offerings were completely, brought up to a different level. We invested heavily in that as well, and all the public areas. So this is a great hotel offering phenomenal cuisine, phenomenal options for entertainment also. And then we have a great little outdoor spa here at the Buenaventura Grand as well. So it is completely amazing hotel. And again, location. Mark, you saw, walking out from this hotel, literally you make a right, and again, 4 blocks from everything. I also like to say, for the people who like to maybe go out to nightclubs a little, we are what you would consider stumbling distance from the bars as well.
I've noticed that because I have been to this hotel before the renovation. I noticed not that the rooms were bad before, they were still good, but this is a step up, from what it was before. Done a great job with that. That also says something about the hotel when you have employees that have been here for 40 years, been with the hotel since the beginning. It is a very employee-friendly company to work for. That's one thing I've appreciated about Buenaventura Hotels.
And it's interesting because I live in the United States, and I do cover both the United States, Canada, and abroad, representing the hotel. But when I come down here, all of the staff at all 3 of our hotels, they're just truly amazing. I get along with absolutely everyone. So I've become quite close to to everyone here, and I just enjoy spending time with my colleagues. But we all do what we do, and that is to serve our guests, and we do it very well together. So
yep, and you certainly do that.
Now it's time for the hot travel deal of the week. This was a little bit hard for me to decide today what to talk about because we've had the great discussions with David and Puerto Vallarta, but I've decided to go to Cancun. I have just seen so many deals to Cancun. Right now, this deal is for a February 21st departure, 5 nights hotel and round-trip airfare from Salt Lake City. It includes all taxes and fees and your transfers to and from the airport. The reason why I chose this is because I've just seen tremendous deals on 5-star hotels. So every deal we're going to talk about is at a 5-star resort. These are only about $50 to $75 more than the 3.5 to 4-star resorts. So these are some great deals. Again, February 21st, 2025 for a 5-night package with airfare. The first hotel is the Park Royale Beach, Cancun. This is a 5-star resort in the hotel zone of Cancun, and it starts at $11.99 per person. The next resort is the Catalonia Yucatan Beach 5-star resort from $13.39. And then we'll go to 2 of my favorite hotels in the area, the Hyatt Ziva Riviera Cancun. This is a relatively new hotel that was just completely rebranded and renovated to the Hyatt Ziva brand. 5-star hotel from $16.99 per person. And then the El Dorado Seaside Palms. So this will incorporate the more inclusive experience that we talked about a little bit earlier in this segment. So the El Dorado Seaside Palms, 5-star resort, $1,879 per person. If you're looking to go to Cancun, I think now is the time to book, where the 3- and 4-star hotels have seen prices about where we've seen them, but the prices of the 5-star hotels have really come down over the past few weeks. Well, that'll do it for this segment of the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. We'll be back in just a moment.
Explore your world. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show with Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo. Call or text the show now. 801-649-3700. That's 801-649-3700. And check out the podcast at InsideTravelTalk.com. We'll be right back.
Inside Travel Talk is brought to you by AMA Waterways. From castles and capitals to vistas and villages, visit some of Europe's most remarkable sites and cities. To set out on your own river cruise journey, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or blueplanetvacations.com.
Welcome back to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. Coming up on the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking about Christmas markets, cruises, travel protection, and travel scams to avoid. Let's start the show.
The Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by blueplanetvacations.com, contains travel deals, promotions, and offers that may be time sensitive. All offers and information were accurate when the show aired. Travel deals and offers change constantly and are capacity controlled and subject to change without notice.
This is the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show right now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700. And now, here are your hosts, Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
Welcome back to segment 3 of the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. This is the Just Cruising segment where we're going to talk cruises and also get the cruise deal of the week. Earlier this week, I had a client call me and said he wanted to book his airfare for his cruise using frequent flyer miles. He said he was going to book a flight that arrived 3 hours prior to sailing because he read on the cruise line's website that you needed to just be on board 2 hours prior to sailing. Earlier this week, I did have the chance to talk with Patrick about the suggested arrival times for cruises and what will work and what you should do when booking your airfare for a cruise.
Let's get to Mark's travel tips, which we're going to talk about all aboard times, whether that be, well, I guess that would be cruise specific, all aboard, but I guess it will extend that to flight stuff. What are some general rules that everyone should just know?
So this goes back to the cruise story with the stranded passengers in Africa missing the boat. So we're going to talk about 3 times that cruisers need to be aware of. One is the first day of the cruise, when to get on the ship.
Yeah.
Now, this varies by port and country. There are some different rules, but generally, the cruise line wants you on board no later than 2 hours prior to sailing.
Meaning embarkation day.
Embarkation day. If your cruise leaves at 5 p.m., you should arrive to your destination by noon or go in the day before, just to be safe.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the cruise, you shouldn't book a flight before 1 p.m. The cruise line will say noon. I say 1 p.m. because sometimes I've been on a ship in Los Angeles once where the port was fogged in.
Oh, really?
We didn't get in until 11. So by the time everyone cleared customs and all of that, the noon flights were
you were host.
long and done.
So add just at least another hour to whatever they say.
Another hour to that. Yep.
Okay.
So that's embarkation day and disembarkation day. And then there is some confusion on ports because there's a posted time when the ship leaves,
right?
Say at 6 p.m. But then there's also
an all aboard time, which is usually 30 to 45 minutes before the departure time. The cruise line has some safety and immigration checks they need to go through. So that's why they need that 30 to 45 minute leeway of the all aboard time. So when you're on a cruise, make sure in every port that you know the all aboard time. And it's posted right there when you go out. They announce it. It's in the daily planner. It's everywhere. But just make sure you know that all aboard time.
I genuinely feel bad for anyone who misses the ship, but it's kind of hard to feel bad for you when they literally tell you every single day when you have to be back on the ship.
Yes.
Sorry, not really.
Another thing to add to that is make sure you have travel insurance in case something does happen.
Oh,
that
yeah.
would cover. It would have to be for a covered reason.
Is that a covered reason? Like if you miss the boat?
Well, if it on the arrival and departure day, if the ship's later in, there is travel delay in most insurance policies that probably would cover missing the ship in port, but that would be insurance company specific.
So make sure when looking at your flights that you give yourself plenty of time to get to the port to account for any delays by the airline. I always recommend flying in a day before the cruise so that you don't risk missing the boat. And now, earlier this week, we had a text from a listener, Melissa. She wants to go on a Christmas markets cruise next year, and she's wondering if it's too early to book now. We'll answer that, and we'll spend the rest of the segment talking about European Christmas markets. To answer one of Melissa's questions, if it's too early to book, I would say if you want to go next year, book it now. We did some stories a little bit earlier this month where some of the cruise lines, like Viking River Cruise Lines, is more than 70% full for 2025. These specialty cruises sell out quite a bit. We'll talk in just a minute about Christmas markets, but first I thought it might be interesting to see which cities in Europe have the most Christmas markets. I did find a list online, and it's pretty interesting. Berlin, Germany has the most, with 42 different Christmas markets that start in late November. The next city is Rome, Italy, that has 25 Christmas markets, and those start in early December. And then Paris, France has 11 Christmas markets, which start in late November. Warsaw, Poland has 9 Christmas markets, which start in late November. And then Bucharest, Romania has 8 Christmas markets that also starts in early December. Also on this list was Vienna, Austria, with 6 Christmas markets. And I think an interesting location is the country of Andorra, which is one of the smaller countries in Europe, which is on the France and Spain border. Despite how small the country is, it still has 5 Christmas markets. So those are the cities with the most Christmas markets in Europe. Now moving on, earlier this week, I did have a chance to talk with Patrick about Christmas market cruising and some particulars. Let's listen to what we recorded earlier this week, and then I'll go into some of the travel deals.
We're going to go to the Christmas markets. Let's tell listeners what a Christmas market cruise is.
In Europe, a lot of the small villages, towns, and larger cities all have Christmas markets that they set up in their main square. They're small kiosks, restaurants, Christmas displays, everything about Christmas in these Christmas markets. So these cruises focus on that, stop in the best Christmas markets in Europe, and you get to experience that in each stop.
In what cities and countries?
There are different rivers you can do it on. You can do the Rhine and the Danube, which are the two most popular. I guess I should say the upper Danube. And then you can also do the Rhone in France and the lower Danube. Best Christmas market probably in all of Europe is on the upper Danube, which is Nuremberg. Nuremberg, it's called the Christkindlmarkt, which is the largest and oldest Christmas market in Germany. The other stop, you either start or end in Budapest, which there they have a lot of handmade works that is in their Christmas market.
That'd be cool.
All handmade toys and trinkets and different things. And then also Austria, Vienna. I've never been there in Christmas time, but Vienna I can see being a magical city at Christmas.
You have been to Vienna.
I have been to Vienna.
Let's talk about the Rhine River.
So the Rhine River Christmas market, that includes France, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland.
Are these 7-day cruises?
These are 7-night cruises.
So you go from country to country, but there's ports in each one of those countries that you go experience Christmas in those locations.
Yeah. So there's 1 or 2 ports every day. Some days
Oh,
you're there all
really?
day. Sometimes you're just there half a day.
And so you move on to the next one.
So you move on to the next one.
Oh, see, I've never even heard of this before.
A river cruise period is a great way to see Europe.
And AMA Waterways, they do a great job just by reputation. I've never been on them, but their reputation is stellar.
Yeah, they're my favorite. I've sailed on them several times.
We've got the Rhine River, we've got the Upper Danube, and then we've got what?
And then there's the Lower Danube and the Rhone on that. Going back to the Rhine River, that one has 2 spots that I think are fascinating. In Cologne, it's a big Gothic cathedral. The Christmas market is set up right in front of that. And then also in Heidelberg. I think Heidelberg probably would be the best city in Europe.
So that would be your favorite.
That would be my favorite. I love Heidelberg. And then also on this one, in one of the cities, they have the world's largest advent calendar. So, you just get little special Christmas things like that on these. And then the Rhone is in France. So you get a lot of cities in France along that one. And then the lower Danube, which I think is interesting, would be Hungary to Romania. And you'd go to Slovakia, go to Serbia.
Oh, wow.
And you'd go to Bulgaria on that. So
that feels like a unique experience.
That is. Yeah, I've done that, not at Christmas time, but that's probably my favorite river cruise I've done is that lower Danube, just because it's so different culturally and everything like that. I'd be interested to see how they do Christmas because they are all formerly behind in the East Bloc, behind the Iron Curtain, and weren't allowed to do that. It'd be interesting to see how those Christmas markets are. Now, let's talk about some of the travel deals that are out there for Europe Christmas markets. Right now, AMA Waterways, which is my favorite cruise line, has holiday triple savings sale. This expires December 31st, so you have about 10 days to book this. This offer is also combinable with their $8.99 fixed airfare rate to Europe. And with AMA Waterways, 7-night river cruises, you can save up to $2,000 per stateroom, plus get a complimentary stateroom upgrade, plus get up to $100 onboard credit to spend on board for things like spa and other things that they offer. If you move that to a 14-day river cruise, it's save up to $4,000 per stateroom, plus complimentary stateroom upgrade and $200 to spend on board. So this is a great offer. This expires December 31st of this year, and it is for Christmas market cruises starting November of next year through December. So if you're interested in a Christmas market cruise, this is definitely the way to go. Now, I just want to highlight 2 cruises with AMA Waterways. They're 2 7-night cruises, and these are part of that save up to $2,000 per stateroom. The first cruise is Amsterdam to Basel. This is on the Rhine River, and it has some of the best Christmas markets, I think. Cologne, Germany, and as I mentioned earlier with Patrick, Heidelberg. I think those have 2 of some of the best Christmas markets in Europe, and the Rhine River is always a great river to cruise on. And in 2025, there's some pretty good rates in early November and later in December on this. So cruise rates start at $28.39 per person, and that is with the $2,000 off per cabin, or essentially that's $1,000 per person. The other cruise I'd like to highlight is the Gems of Southeast Europe. This is the lower Danube, and it does hit Bucharest, which is one of the cities we mentioned that has the most Christmas markets in Europe. So this sails from Budapest to Bucharest, essentially. Visit Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Romania on this. I think this is a fascinating itinerary. And this itinerary does not have as many departures as the Rhine or the Upper Danube. But for next year in 2025, November 24th sailing date starts at $26.39 per person. That's the cruise deal of the week. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back right after this short break.
They've literally traveled millions of miles to answer your travel-related questions. Yeah, they really have. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Patrick and Mark will be back after these messages.
This segment of Inside Travel Talk is sponsored by El Dorado Spa Resorts. Escape to Cancun's Riviera Maya with authentic, all-inclusive luxury at an El Dorado Spa Resort. To book your romantic beach getaway, contact Blue Planet Vacations at 888-718-7717 or BluePlanetVacations.com.
They'll help you plan and book your next vacation. Yeah, really. You're listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com, America's best travel advisors. Call or text the show now, 801-649-3700, 801-649-3700. And now, here's Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo.
And we're back for the fourth and final segment of this week's version of Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show. We're glad you could join us this week. Before we get started into some of the travel news, I just wanted to mention that this show is brought to you by BluePlanetVacations.com. And if you want to learn about some of the hot travel deals that are out there at BluePlanetVacations.com, you can sign up for our hot travel deal update. We send those every 7 to 10 days or whenever a good travel deal breaks. So go to BluePlanetVacations.com and see some of the best travel deals out there. Now, before we get on to some of the conversations Patrick and I had earlier in this week, I just wanted to bring up, as we're closing the new year and looking into 2025, some of the biggest changes that travelers will experience in 2025. And the main one is on May 7th, 2025, the Real ID Act will launch. And this means if you don't have a Real ID compliant driver's license or a passport, you will not be able to get through TSA. So you'll want to check with your state to make sure that you have a Real ID compliant driver's license. Generally, it is noted with a yellow star or some type of symbol in one of the corners of your driver's license. And a few other items that will come into effect in 2025. We talked about this, I think, about 2 weeks ago, but it's the United Kingdom's ETA Act, which is the electronic authorization. That means that if you're traveling to the United Kingdom on or after January 8th of 2025, you will need to fill out an electronic authorization online before you travel and get authorization to enter into the United Kingdom. And on a similar note, the European Union's entry and exit system is coming sometime in 2025. They still haven't set an exact date for that, but it's similar to that United Kingdom ETA, where you'll have to fill out a form online, pay a little bit of money, and get pre-approved to enter the European Union. And now we'll get on to some of the travel tips that I talked earlier this week with Patrick about. We're going to talk about some travel scams to avoid and also the value of travel protection.
Let's get to the 7 crafty cruise tricks. Do not fall for these. And let's go over the first one, which I think has to do with taxi rides.
This is geared towards cruisers, but this is also good advice for anywhere in the world. All of these happen all the time, especially to tourists. Tourists are a good target for scammers. Always set your fare with the driver before you get in.
Yeah, don't do it in the middle of the ride.
Don't do it in the middle or when you get out, or you'll be surprised.
Oh, yeah.
A common trick that taxi drivers will use is they'll give you, this is the rate, $10. And then you'll get there and they'll say, oh, I told you $10, but that was per person. So now you owe me $20.
Oh,
so make sure you set it for the whole party and to where you're going. And then make sure you have bills to cover that. Not too large of a bill, because they will always say they don't have change. And then you're stuck paying them a lot more.
What was the other trick that they try and pull, taxi drivers?
A lot of times people will say, can you take me to the beach and then come pick me up at this time?
Yeah.
And I'll say yes, and they'll have you pay for that return trip up front. never pay for the return trip up front. Tell them you'll pay for when they take you there, and then you'll pay when they take you back.
Yeah, because
otherwise they won't return.
Yep. See you later. Say goodbye to your money right there.
Yeah. A common thing for a lot of people to do is to just hire a taxi to take them sightseeing. They don't want to take the excursions the ship offers. Taxi drivers are really good at this. I've actually been on some very good tours by taxi drivers.
Oh, you have?
But do some research and know where you want to go.
Meaning you choose the destination.
You choose the destinations and how long you want to go there. Otherwise, they're going to take you to their brother's shop, to their sister's shop, everywhere where they get a kickback. And you're going to spend most of your time shopping and not actually doing the sightseeing that you want to do. So make sure you detail what you want to do, what you want to see. And if you don't want to shop, you need to tell them up front, I don't want to shop. And the next one is fake ticket scams.
Okay, what is that?
There are some places that you need to buy tickets to in advance. And some taxi drivers will say, oh, I know someone, I have an in, I can get you a ticket.
Oh, boy.
You'll pay them for the ticket. They'll drop you off. It looks like a legitimate ticket, but when you get there, they'll say it's a fake ticket.
Oh, boy.
So only buy tickets from legitimate sources. Don't buy them from a taxi driver. Then the next one, this is one that really bugs me, is don't take the free gifts. A lot of vendors will come up and say, it's free, it's free, it's free. Because then they just keep hounding you for more and more. And a lot of times it's part of a pickpocket scam where they're watching where money comes from, how you act, and they will pickpocket you to do that. And then also along those lines of pickpocketing, keep your small bills and coins that you're going to use for street vendors and stuff in a separate area from your main money, because those pickpockets watch tourists where their money comes from.
Yeah, you're being watched.
Then you get pickpocketed for a few dollars. That's probably fine. You don't want to be, but you don't want everything taken.
You had an interesting story that actually happened to you.
A common thing is someone will spill ice cream, gelato, a drink, or something on you. If anyone spills something on you, do not let them help you because it's a pickpocket scam.
Oh, my goodness.
Because the one thing that pickpocket needs is touch to distract you.
Oh, yeah.
And so my thing was, I was at the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, and a guy came up and said, hey, you're American. Do you know judo? Like, that's a strange thing to ask. And then he was doing these judo moves on me, and all of my pockets were emptied. Oh. Luckily, it was just a map of the Paris subway system, so I had a hard time getting back to my hotel. But that's what pickpocketers need, is a lot of times that slight distraction.
In all of my life, I have never been asked, hey, do you know judo?
Yeah.
I'm sorry that happened, but that's kind of funny.
Yeah, it was funny, yeah. And, another common thing is we'll say the Colosseum in Rome. There are lots of people dressed as Roman soldiers to go take your picture with them. Don't take your picture with them. A lot of times they are pickpocket scams as well, or the pickpocketers are watching the people with that. If you do want to do that, set your price with the person beforehand, because a lot of times you'll try and give them $5 or whatever, and they say, no, it's 10, 15, 20.
Oh, man.
And then you'll have a miserable situation there.
You know that they won't let you go.
Yeah. And then never give your phone to someone to take a picture and unlock it. Or if someone comes and says, you took my picture, you can't, and they want you to unlock your phone to see that, what they're trying to do is get you to unlock your phone, and then they're going to grab it and run away with your unlocked phone and get all of your stuff, which is quite popular. It happens a lot more than you would think.
Having you articulate it like that is justification for me just going, no, thank you for asking. Just get away. Buzz off.
And then, there's kind of two things that we'll do. If you're buying something and they're going to take it in the back to wrap it up for you, make sure you check it before you come back. I've heard stories of where people will have an expensive handbag and they'll take it back to wrap it up. And then when they get back to the ship or to their hotel, it is a totally different product. And then they're out of luck. And
then they can't come back because the cruise ship is going to take off.
Yeah. And then the last thing is know the exchange rate.
Well, how would you know that?
There are apps. There's one called XE Currency Converter where you can just quickly put that in so you know about what you should pay. It won't always equal that because there's some different fees and stuff, but you'll know about what you'll pay. There's been vendors that say, yeah, it comes out to about $200 US. And then when you get back, if you're not savvy and don't know the exchange rate, people have had $500-$600 charges when they thought it was $200. So know the exchange rate.
Let's talk about travel insurance, travel protections. That doesn't sound interesting until
you figure out what it can save you from.
Right. Most people are like, we're going on vacation. I've done that. And I'm like, I'm not paying for that. I've never had to use it, but I did get it just in case something went sideways.
Well, you never purchase insurance hoping to use it.
Good point.
So that's something, and travel insurance is, I think, a very good investment to protect your trip. It protects for health reasons while you're there on vacation.
Hold on. So it's basically insurance, not only for the trip, but to protect you physically.
Physically. While
I didn't know that.
So you'll get, let's talk about the pre-trip things first. So the pre-trip things are, like flight cancellations, lost baggage delays, everything that can happen while you're flying, while you're getting to your destination.
Right.
Many also allow you to cancel for a covered reason, which as long as a doctor says that, or if you have a death in the family, that's a covered reason and can't go. So there are a lot of unforeseen things that can happen before and kind of while starting the trip. And then it also covers you while you're traveling. There's health provisions. A lot of people say, well, my health insurance will cover it. A lot of insurance does not cover when you're outside of the USA. And many countries, there are several countries that actually require you show proof of
insurance,
of health insurance while traveling. So you do need to buy some type of health insurance to travel to certain countries because they will not treat you at hospitals. And they'll probably treat you, but make you pay a lot. So,
yeah. Okay.
And I've had clients before that have had to be medevaced home from Australia.
Oh boy.
I've had people that have had to leave trips early and come home, and had they not had travel insurance, travel protection, it would have been very costly to do that. To look at all the specifics, you'll need to go to a specific travel company and get their specifics.
Yeah, the policy.
Most travel agents, I recommend Travel X is the travel insurance provider that I recommend, but there are several out there that are really good. And to get the specifics, I can recommend you to the place where to get all those specifics, and call if you have any questions on the policies.
Call Mark if you have questions, 801-649-3700.
Well, that's it for this week's show. We're glad you could join us. Patrick should be back with us next week. We look forward to having him back on the show. We're here every week. You can catch a rebroadcast of the show at InsideTravelTalk.com or on BluePlanetVacations.com. And we will see you next week. Have a good week.
That's it. That's the end of the show. You've been listening to the Inside Travel Talk podcast and radio show with Patrick Wiscombe and Mark Faldmo, presented by BluePlanetVacations.com. Book your adventure right now. Call 888-718-7717. That's 888-718-7717. Thanks for listening. Have a great week.